Obviously it's been an interesting start to this season particularly. Let's just say it like this. The Sharks are not in a playoff position right now. No. They've gone through some challenges. They've gone through, some excruciating circumstances from a personal perspective. But what thing or things could you identify right now that would help them get into said playoff position?
Their defensive structure, even though they've allowed the second most goals against per game, their defensive structure, you can see what Bob Boughner is trying to institute. I have seen Brent Burns play a more controlled game than I think I've seen him in the last number of years, maybe ever. He's trying to be alert, aware defensively. He's trying to play within what Bob wants. And that's not Brent. Brent just goes. The chaos that he creates is both good and bad. But you can see the team, their defensive structure, what Bob's trying to get them to understand and get them to do game in, game out. So that's number one, that they have to keep building on that. The problem is, but this week has been a bonus because of the cancellations.
Get to reset.
Exactly. But in a truncated season and in a season where you don't have a lot of time to work on things, you have to rely on video and you're not able to work on it on the ice. But you can see what Bob's trying to do there. Their power play and penalty kill, it's if you combine it, and this used to be Darryl Sutter's thing, if you combine the power play and penalty kill numbers,
100%.
Right. And they're a little bit over 100%.
Yeah.
They get a lot of shots on the power play. They get a lot of chances on the power play. They need to get some finish on the power play. That's number two. This team is going to have to be able to win and get themselves in a position to hopefully contend for a playoff spot by structure, especially in the defensive zone, or especially away from the puck. Shouldn't say defensive zone. Structure away from the puck and special teams. That's the two areas where you can really have an influence as a coach and really have your team buy into what you think is going to make it so you can win games. And you can see that that's happening.
Yeah.
The other things are, when you look at the team, you see some positives. You've got some quickness. You've got some guys who can get up and down the ice. Their third and fourth lines can get up and down the ice, and they can create some problems. If they could grab an identity where they are just that pain in the rear end line to play against, where they can go out and shift momentum by getting pucks deep, getting in on teams, closing time and space, making it very difficult for the opposition to move the puck north. That could be something where that they'd really, that's where you can probably swing momentum. The other thing, though, is you have to be able to have your best players really pull on the rope. They got to lead by example every single night, and that's a lot to ask of the guys.
Yeah,
it's a lot to ask of Evander Kane and Logan Couture and Carlson and Brent Burns. It's a lot to ask of those guys, but they have to be their best for 50 whatever games they've got left. They have to, or else you're not going to win. And this goes as no surprise. Goaltending, man.
Yeah.
You can't always look at the save percentage and go, they're bad. You can't even look at the goalies and go, well, they should have stopped that one. Where are the chances originating? How many grade A chances are you giving up?
Yep.
But also, some of those grade A chances, you got to stop.
Yes.
You got to give me that save.
Yep.
So,
no, that's perfect. My next question was going to be what you were just bringing up there, goaltending versus team defense issue. And it's not to say that, let's look at last season, that Aaron Dell or Martin Jones were perfect. I think they would tell you themselves they would have liked to have been better. But that is the question for me. How many grade A chances can you ask your goalie to save every single night? Because if the number is like 6 or 7, you're hanging in there.
Exactly.
But if the number is like 13 or 14, the odds are not good. And to me, like in baseball, there's an earned run average. A pitcher doesn't get runs counted against his earned run average if the defense behind him is making errors. But in hockey, the goals against and the save percentage, they don't factor in, well, you gave player X 3 chances, point blank range, like it just doesn't factor in. So, and I know there are other stats, high danger chances, all that stuff, but I totally agree that it's not to take goaltending out of the conversation, but it's also to include team defense as maybe the root issue. And let me just ask you this: on the note of that, people a lot of times identify the blue line as being the weak link defensively, but to me, it's like there's 3 forwards constantly out there too, which are part of the equation, helping out. I'm not here to throw anybody else under the bus. Just to say that when you talk about team defense, I'm not talking about defensemen only, right?
No, and we're not talking about just playing in your own zone.
Right. Right.
Team defense starts when you don't have the puck.
Right.
Nobody says you can't play defense in the offensive zone.
Right.
By having a good forecheck,
right.
by making sure in the neutral zone when you're coming back, that third man comes back through the neutral zone and allows your defenseman to stand up. If your forwards are coming back hard, then my defenseman can contest the blue line and don't have to back up and give up their zone. Team defense is exactly that. Team defense.
Yeah.
We often know when we're talking about, well, defensively they're not very good. You look at the 6 guys who are playing on your blue line. But you're 100% right. And that's why when you look at the good teams, you take care of the puck, and when you don't have it, you pressure to get it back. You talk about time and space, time and space, time and space. One of the things that the Ducks are pretty good at, I just watched the Ducks the last couple of games, is they're really good at taking away time and space. But they haven't scored very many goals.
Right.
And you look at, say, the Boston Bruins or the Vegas Golden Knights or the way that Tampa played last year in the playoffs. Their team defense starts as soon as they lose the puck. And then their offense starts as soon as they get it back because they're working their tail off to get it back. It was fun to watch the Tampa Bay during the playoffs. It was funny. You remember the great Jay Woodcroft, right?
Yeah,
Jay
absolutely.
coaches now in Bakersfield and such a great guy. And Jay's always kind of testing me. So during the playoffs last year, the last playoff, Jay said, okay, this is what I want. I want you to watch the finals and then send me a report of both teams. Everything you can imagine about scouting and everything else. Because, you never know where your next job's coming from, right?
Sure.
So I did that. Sent it to him at the end. Came back with his estimation of how I did and what I was looking at and how I was seeing everything. But we both agreed on the fact that both Tampa and Dallas, when they had lost the puck, how hard they would work and how quickly they would work at trying to get it back.
Yeah.
And that's the key to team defense.
I've already overused you on time that I asked for, so I only have
like I've got things to do. Please. Jeez.
So I only have one more thing. Actually, I only have one more thing. But I think going back to identity as a whole, and to sum up the Sharks right now, what they might have had in seasons of the 2010s when they were a definite playoff team and they were a definite postseason contender, and they'd have the chance to make runs. And the difference between then and now is maybe they had a certain identity back then, and I don't mean their identity was winning, but you knew how they could win games. Right. You knew their style, and I don't know right now that there is a specific calling card that this team has. Am I right about that? Am I wrong about that? Can they develop a calling card that would, be their kind of staple of how to get results that they want?
I had to look this up because I asked a bunch of coaches in the National Hockey League about a year ago, less than a year ago, what is team identity? What does it mean? And this is the best quote I got. It's a physical, mental, and structural style the group of players believes in and prepares, practices, and plays towards, which I think is the best definition of a team identity.
Yeah.
And when you bring new guys in, when you're in a shift as far as your team goes, which is definitely what's happening with the San Jose Sharks, you are going to have to make sure that those people that come in and are new to your team understand what your identity is. Now you got new coaches.
Right.
Well, Bobby was there for a while, but you've got basically a new coaching staff.
Right.
You've got a bunch of young players and new players coming in. So it's up to Brent Burns, Logan Couture, Mark-Edouard Vlasic, guys that have been there for a while to really bring to the forefront what a team identity is. Now, you had the luxury years ago to have Joe Thornton, Patty Marleau.
Oh, Patty's still around. I don't know if you knew that.
That's right. Yes, I'm sorry. The great Patty Marleau was still around. Joe Pavelski, Logan.
Yeah.
When Logan came in, he had those guys. When Patrick Marleau came in, he had Mike Vernon. He lived with Kelly Rudy and all those guys. You have to be able to hand that down. And I think you're right that I don't think the Sharks have quite figured it out yet, who they are, how they have to play and what they have to do to prepare that to play that way every single day.
Yeah.
Now, again, you talked about the what they've had to do though for the first little while of this season.
Very difficult. A month straight. Human beings are not designed to be on the road that long, and to even and they're still going back out on the road for a handful more games.
Yeah.
But I think, it's not to make an excuse for 3 wins and only 1 in regulation in their first 8 games, but to just get through that and to now have this fortunate week for them to reset and now to go into some different style of opponents in their next 6 games. Look, when I mentioned the calling card, I wasn't saying that they're not capable of that. I'm just saying that the sooner they can get to something like that, going to be much better off.
100%. And being at home and being a little bit more stable and everything, knowing what's going to be happening in the future will give their top players that chance to say, okay, this is who we need to become.
Yeah. Hey, I'll let you go, and I'll just say this. Be a little bit more casual when you join us for the studio shows. You don't need a tie. You really don't even need a suit. T-shirt and jeans, maybe?
Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, for sure. Hey, Brody, there's this thing called center ice where you actually get to watch.
Oh, you're watching us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trust me, big boy. Hey, we're bringing it. Friday night, we're bringing it.
You're going to outdo the rest of the people on television from your own home. So
yes, and I'll be wearing pants. I would guarantee you my pants will match. It's not going to be just like the guy in that commercial, the Folgers commercial, where he's got his underwear on.
I had to check to make sure I was wearing pants still right now. Sometimes I just forget. Waist up. Let's go. Hit record. Drew, appreciate this. See you soon on TV and a couple times this season. Looking forward to it.
Me too, buddy. Good seeing you.